If it isn't obvious, I've just had surgery today and I'm just kind of going off adrenaline fumes right now. So it's been a while since the movie, and that wasn't by choice, I assure you. So basically, before the movie came out, I had planned to make some stuff to fill out the year, but obviously I wasn't successful at that. But you know, we live and we learn. And originally I was going to do a video after the movie, just sort of talking candidly about the whole thing and how it was sort of important to me. But life got in the way of that. But on the bright side, this isn't from any award bureau, but you know, it'll do for now, you know? So basically, for the past couple months, I've been working hard on season 4. And basically I've been working on that at least since May. And it's a lot of hard work, because the thing is that every year I try and improve on some facet, and every time I try to improve on that facet, it takes more time to make the series. So for instance, Season 1 was easier and quicker to make because the characters were making choppy movements. They were sort of just making loosey-goosey animations. There wasn't an awful lot of flow. But when Season 2 came around and there was a bigger aspect ratio and I had this whole blinking animation thing, then you know, it took a lot more time to make. Same thing happens with Season 3, and same thing happened with the movie. Somehow the movie was shorter though. I think there was just less to do in that case. But Season 4 is taking a long time because there are things in Season 4 that are different from the movie and everything that's come before. And I hope you enjoy them. I've been working hard on it since May, so let's hope it turns out well. Speaking of Season 1, yeah, I put it on a DVD. I did notice that the movie was pretty compressed when I put it on YouTube. So if any of you are interested in purchasing like an uncompressed George Lucas Clavums Adventures Movie on DVD, just let me know. I can do it. Possibly. Anyway, other than that, where have I been? Well, recently I've found myself in voice acting. So there's these Transformers comics that are coming out recently, which are some of the greatest Transformers stories to be told in a very long time. And someone's decided to dub them. I say someone, it's a group of people. And you know, I'm just throwing my hat in the ring. I said, hey, I'd like to be involved in this, it'd be fun. You know, because of course I do all the voices in Clavum, and of course I want Clavum and my voice acting stuff to be somewhat official so that I can run with it. And so basically what happened is I just put my hat in the ring and someone said, hey, I'll get you in touch with the person in charge. And that's where I am today. And I don't think I can divulge too much about what I'm involved with. I don't want to step on anybody's toes, but rest assured I seem to have gotten some sort of voice acting job. I'm not getting paid, of course, but you know, I look forward to it and I'm happy to be a part of that. The channel is called Twisted Toy Box. I cannot recommend them enough. I mean, it's a group of voice actors and creatives who make music, who do editing, who do voice acting, and even though, you know, it's similar to the audio visuals, perhaps even more professional, you can tell with every single thing on the editing timeline, with every single voice, with every single original track, there is love oozing out of it. They do all kinds of things. They do Transformers, I think they do Has Been Hotel stuff. But yeah, great stuff, and I'm happy to be involved with them, so that's one thing that's taken a lot of my time. I recently had a medical health complication as well. One morning I just woke up and I had a very bad pain in my left side, which turned out to be a kidney stone, and yeah, I had to deal with that. So yeah, trying to get my energy back after the whole rigmarole. But you know, I'm back to somewhat good health. I'm recovering, I'm able to do things, and I'm able to make videos, and I'm able to make cartoons, and I'm able to do all kinds of stuff. Another thing that's going to take up a lot of my time is my master's degree. Now, I graduated over the summer holidays. See, that's me right there, yeah. So I graduated over the summer holidays from my undergrad, and I made a placement for a postgraduate. So I'm doing a master's degree, And I've only had one session, but I'm already like, oh shit. There's a gajillion books you have to read, and between you and me, I'm probably not going to read half of them. Sorry. But yeah, that's going to take up an awful lot of my time, so that's probably one thing that's messed around with the whole thing. And September just kind of slipped through my fingers, really, to be brutally honest. Like, one minute it was August, and then boom, it's September. I just got out of the hospital, what's going on, you know? So yeah, I mean, basically what happened is that a bunch of things happened that were beyond my control. A couple of things that happened that were so incredibly fascinating and incredible and great that I sort of lost track of making a September video. And that's kind of where we are right now. But that being said, I'm here now, and I hope to not let this happen again, you know? I don't enjoy leaving you guys waiting too long after you've already waited for the movie to come out, and that's all done and dusted now. So I don't like making you guys wait, and I hope not to do that again. Of course, for the next couple of months I have everything planned out. Of course, the new comic came out about a week ago now. Was it a week ago? Oh, well, thereabouts. And basically the next issue will be coming out sometime in October, yeah. And you know, then in October I'll release an audio visual for that comic book, and then in November and December the final 2 magazines will release for the year, and then that'll get an audio visual in December. I'm thinking of making a From the Archives in November, but you know, we'll see what happens. I have a lot of ideas for other videos that I want to make, but we'll see what happens when November comes. But when I'm recording this, the movie itself has surpassed at least 200 views, which is crazy in my opinion, because there was a little bit of the time where the views sort of stagnated, and I was like, oh okay, well that's fine, they're just gonna stay as they are, that's fine, I can live with that. But then all of a sudden, boom, 200, and it's like, that was a very happy occasion, and I'm very thankful that all of you guys watched, all 200 of you, or all 100 of you who watched it again and again or something, you know. I appreciate it, and it makes this actually worth something, despite the fact that I probably got it for like £1. So originally I was going to use September's video. I think at the time I was going to release a clean version of the credits from the Clavums movie, but it's kind of cheap, you know? And I think I'll probably still do that. But the matter of the fact is that I want to give you guys something of substance and something of value. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to use this video for what it was intended for, and I think I'm just going to talk candidly about the Clavums movie. Are we still on episode 1? Alright, I'm back, and this time with a laptop. In fact, the laptop that made the movie currently is making season 4, will probably edit this video. Now that I made a story asking for people to ask me questions about the movie, like any questions at all, sort of like a Q&A. And I only got one guy, Tristan, who asked questions, but he asked so many that I think they're all worth answering, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. So, one question he asks is there anything you'd have liked to put in the movie that you had to leave out? Well, the thing is that when you're creating things like a cartoon, or a movie, or a comic, there are always things that you think would be interesting to put in. So someone like me, who's sort of a maladaptive daydreamer, or someone who watches something and says, I gotta do something like that, there will always be something on that level that I'd always want to do. So I think there were certain plot points that I really wanted to do, that I really wanted to cram in there. I remember thinking about these things back when I was making season 3 and season 2 and stuff. But I think when I was writing the script and the plot breakdown, these things sort of didn't happen, or they were sort of, if you put that in there, that's like you're putting a completely different movie plot in the movie for no good reason. So I'm happy that I kind of avoided a couple. I'm not going to mention what it is because I decided to make it a plot point of season 4, so stay tuned for that. But if I could talk about one, I think there was an idea that when Henry, Sam, Matthew, Billy and the Annie clan went into the cave, there were going to be like some bat people in there, like these weird looking Batmen vampire things. I remember there was a Doctor Who annual from 1971. Stick with me here. On the splash page, you got a lot of interesting art. But then there's these really weird little bat people things. And basically, I use that splash page as a reference for a piece of art that I'm going to put on now. I call it Welcome to the Underground. And I remember looking at these bat people and thinking, well, if they're not going to use it, then I will. But I couldn't shoehorn it in there because I felt like it'd be too much. I felt like it'd be too much action. Like, 1 minute you cut from Clavum fighting Galaxor, and then next you cut to Henry and the gang running away from Batman, and then they run into Mad Mac. I just kind of felt that would ruin the pacing a little bit. And so I left that out, but I think that's something I'd like to return to. I mean, the episode Bulls was something that was scrapped from the season 1, so I do like recycling things. There was also a part of the movie where when Mad Mac holds Jamal and Sophie, he drops them on the floor, and Clavum kind of has a flashback to when Lucy got captured, and I left that out. I think my little brother said that kind of ruined the pacing a little bit, but I think it worked personally. But ultimately, I think I'm happy with how the movie is now. I think the movie would have probably been more interesting with some of the things that I left out from the script, and probably would be far more meandering with some of the plot points that I really thought about early on. But yeah, those are a couple of things I had to leave out. Another question is, was it more challenging to create the movie than the series? Some differences in the creative process. I think I approached the movie pretty much the same as I approached the cartoon. The only difference was that the movie was the first Clavum thing I've ever done with a graphics tablet plugged into a laptop rather than a mouse plugged into a desktop. And it was actually far more easier to do. I feel like pictures are harder to render when you're relying far more on the pre-made shapes of Microsoft Paint, and especially when you're drawing with a mouse, it's very difficult. So it was a lot easier in a couple of regards, but it was a little difficult because I was so used to relying on shapes that were already ordained that when it came time for me to actually draw shapes of my own, some of them kind of came out looking a bit janky, honestly. Like, there are scenes where Clavum's face looks like it's caving in on itself, or they got little bug eyes or something. So it's definitely a very interesting experiment. By the time season 4 comes around, I hope this sort of thing has been ironed out. In that regard, it was a lot different than the series. I think it was challenging in a couple of regards, because a series, you could have one episode that's basically Clavum and the gang doing pretty much nothing, like Stop That Cherub or the Ghost Breakers, and then you have episodes where Clavum has a one-on-one brawl with a bunch of gangbots and Mad Mac, and that scene takes 3 days for some reason, you know? So I think in that regard the movie was harder, because there was less scenes of the gang standing around and talking, and far more scenes where Clavum or the others are fighting a bunch of people. And of course you have to have more action scenes in a movie to keep the momentum going and to keep people interested. How did you decide on making a movie versus another season? Since how long do you have it planned? The thing is about Clavums Adventures is that at some point I kind of said to myself, I'll sell Clavum to someone and then I'll whisper in their ear and tell them to do stuff. And that's not how it works. And I'm kind of glad that never happened. So I kind of just assumed that at some point Clavum would get so successful it would have its own movie. So at the back of my mind I always told myself Clavum will sort of have a movie. It's one of them law of attraction things, I guess. I told myself that Clavum would have a movie so much that it ended up happening. Of course it's not on the big screen, not everybody in the world knows about it. Clavum is not uttered in the same breath as Mickey Mouse or Sonic the Hedgehog or Super Mario or anything. But you know, there's love in every single frame, and I think you guys can see that. And you know, it's appreciated, and I appreciate you. So yeah, I guess I always had in mind that I would do a movie. I don't know why I decided to do a movie now. It's one of those things where you have an idea so long ago that you forget about it. But I think I told myself, well, SpongeBob had a movie after season 3, so I'll go ahead and make a movie after season 3. I think I remember making season 3 and thinking, you know, it would be a far better idea if I was just making a movie now instead of making a season that won't have anything to do with what I had planned for the movie. But yeah, I think for a very long time I'd always said to myself that there would be a movie after season 3, and it's one of those things where I forgot why I said that. But yeah, that's pretty much how long I've had it planned. That's pretty much why there was no season 4 this year and there was a movie. A part of me hurts that I didn't make season 4 this year, because now season 4 will be coming out in 2025 instead of 2024, and that kind of breaks the numerical streak of seasons 1, 2 and 3. But you win some, you lose some, you know. And to answer the last question, the last part of that question much more solidly, I think I've had it planned since at least back end of 2018. So yeah, I used to draft up little Clavum posters at 2018. And one of the posters I made actually said coming 2025, so I was off by about a year. That's some crazy law of attraction stuff, man. Will there be a second one? Yes. I don't want to reveal too much, of course. I probably shouldn't say. But expect after season 6 to be an announcement of Clavum 2. Whenever the heck that is. Yeah, I do intend to make a second one. I do intend to make a trilogy of sorts. And then we'll see where we go from there. What was your goal, hopes originally for the movie? Did you achieve it? Well, I guess it was sort of the goal and hopes I have every time. I just kind of hoped that I would make it, and then you guys would watch it, and you guys would like it, or give your criticism on it. And it's basically the mindset I've had since at least season 2, you know? Because of course when I started making Clavum, I kind of hoped that it would be big from the offset, which, you know, it doesn't happen. But ever since I've had you guys, like an actual fandom, I don't really care what the rest of the world thinks, sort of. Probably sounds terrible. I don't really care if someone looks at this and says this is crap. I kind of care if you guys like it. I kind of care if the fan base enjoy it. And at the end of the day, I'm making it for you guys because you guys enabled me to continue doing this, and I appreciate it. My hopes and goals were for people to enjoy it and for people to give their criticism in the hopes that I can grow and change. I've gotten a lot of notes on it that I find very interesting, and I hope to act on them. What are your biggest inspirations for the movie? Are there any different ones from your series or your comics? Okay, second week of animating the movie, I was genuinely considering to give it quits, thinking, well, you know, I can't keep this up forever. Why don't I just make it a comic series or something? And the day I was thinking about that was the day I went to see Across the Spider-Verse. I watched that movie and I said, no, I'm going to keep doing cartoons. I guess you could say that's an inspiration, sort of. I think it also inspired me by I tried to put a bit of a comic-y spin on it. So there are scenes in the movie where like Jane goes, helmet's back on, and the background is kind of like a comic splash page, and like the visible zaps and bangs and pows and stuff. That was definitely an influence. Another movie I saw at the time was the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie that came out. That was kind of an influence as well, because that's sort of a similar style. I remember watching that movie and being like, oh man, that movie was so good, and now I get to go home and work on my animated movie, and I get to incorporate that similar elements from that into it. And you might see that influence on the scene. It's the scene where Hopper comes out of the stronghold and he hits a bunch of gangbots. It's an interesting question, however, because I feel like the Clavum movie is a conglomeration of things that I have liked and things I've watched or stuff. So a couple of frames are based off frames from other things. There's a frame of Clavum that's based off a frame from the 60s Spider-Man show, and conversely there's a frame of Mad Mac that's based off a Kingpin frame from that show. I could use a couple of sound effects from the Marvel Superheroes cartoon, which is a cartoon I've been watching for about 10-15 years now. It's a very important cartoon to me. It introduced me to the Marvel Universe, it introduced me to Jack Kirby and Stan Lee and Don Heck and Steve Ditko and all these great artists. So I think using sound effects from that sound effect library was a big inspiration on that part. I remember also watching a lot of Walt Disney documentaries, like how they made their cartoon movies before I finished the script. So I think there may be a bit of a Walt Disney inspiration. I don't think it's very well felt though. I don't think it's something that you could like see overtly. But yeah, I watched an awful lot of documentaries about how they made Snow White, Sleeping Beauty, Pinocchio, all these great classic films, regardless of how you feel about today. I watched an awful lot of Walt Disney documentaries, and of course Clavum is my Mickey Mouse, so yeah, I've been inspired in that way, I suppose. Approximately how many work hours do you think you spent on creating the movie? I think there's some questions that go best unanswered, honestly. I feel like if I did answer that, I'd get sectioned. In regards to work hours I spent on the movie, all I can say is that I spent 3 to 4 months on the film. I started May the 22nd and I finished the 2nd of September. I can't say how many work hours, I can only say that I worked for about 4 months solidly, and that's all I can really say about that, I'm afraid. But those are all the questions. Thank you, Tristan, for asking them. Episode 3. This is a good episode. The animation does not live up, but it's a good episode. I like it a lot. I apologise for leaving it so late. I apologise for leaving you all waiting for such a long time. And I hope I don't do that again. Of course, there are things that were out of my control. But of course there were things that were in my control, and I should have been a bit more mindful of it. But hopefully this doesn't happen again. Hopefully things can start motoring as usual. And we can get back on track. So where are we at right now? So I'm still working on season 4. Here's a little sneak peek of that. There you go. And I'm doing my master's degree at the same time, and I may have a voice acting thing on the side, so it may be difficult to make these regular uploads keep working, but I'm sure I'll find a way. I have an awful lot of plans for videos I'd like to make. I want to do like a voice acting showreel sort of thing where I do voice impressions maybe. When all the magazines come out and the interconnecting comic strip stories are all complete, I want to make audio visuals of those. I also want to do a remastered edition of What Destiny Wills, and I still have to make an audio visual of that at some point. But yeah, other than that, that's where I'm at right now. I hope to see you guys soon, and thank you for enjoying the movie. I really appreciate it.